Yeah, no worries. This lends insights into the where insulin is and what that we can learn from not producing it anymore, and how it's administered and where it actually is in the body and its relevance to overall health. So that also is an interesting concept as well in athletic context. So a lot of people with type 1 diabetes may appreciate that if you have excess amounts of peripheral insulin, but less in the liver.
Man, I'm sorry.
So in the athletic context, when you have less insulin in the liver, but proportionally more in the muscle, there's, in theory, an opportunistic window to potentially shuttle more insulin and glucose into muscle tissue and less at the liver. And so that's an open area of interest, particularly for athletes who may want to have, either shuttling of water or glucose into the muscle for any particular reason. So yeah, it lends a lot of insights, and in some cases, having the complete disruption of insulin and having to completely control it on your own, complete disruption of glucose, and having to completely manually automate it now. So you're manually automating your glucose control. It's a lot of work. It's a 24/7 job, but what it gives you is profound insights into the 24/7 regulation of both glucose and insulin, its consequences on overall health over the long term, but also lends insights into the acute effects of changes in glucose. And the one powerful example I often like to give people is, there's always pushback against continuous glucose monitors. Like, why do we need these things on people? And as someone with type 1, and often this pushback is from the type 1 diabetes community, which I think is very odd. CGMs were originally developed in type 1 diabetes, and that was, how it started, what it was for, and that's how it got eventually to the normal health community, because we learned of all the consequences glucose could have originally in type 1 diabetes in order to inform why it might matter for people without it. And one prime example of that is that often people have talked about this idea of like the post-lunch lull. They have a lunch and they feel like they want to take a nap afterwards. Well, go stick a CGM on and see what happens to your glucose levels. The one missed opportunity in people without type 1 diabetes is that you might see this elevation in glucose and this drop, and you might feel the fatigue or the lull, so to speak. You want to take a nap when the glucose comes down. But what you're missing in that window is what is assumed underlying that, which is this spike in insulin that happens as well.